Hey, my friends, I wanted to get in front of the new India COVID outbreak reports. If the reports are correct, and there are many of them, then the India people are being devastated right now by a second sweep of coronavirus, this time much worse than before. I predicted this would happen way back in March of 2020. Others did as well, including many doctors, but since then we have all been censored. The local and national media, government officials, liberals and conservatives alike, ridiculed me for making such a prediction. During the first coronavirus surge in 2020, the India government enforced the most strict lockdown in the world. It started as a 21-day self-isolation order and stretched out to nearly a year. In the beginning, adult men and women were beaten by India police for being in the streets without authorization. Soon the streets in India became empty and the country of 1.3 billion people appeared to be in a deep sleep. Poverty, hunger, and non-COVID related deaths were the reality of unintended lockdown consequences. However, the lockdowns worked. Going into 2021, India had some of the lowest COVID death rates in the world. It was almost as if COVID had jumped over the India peninsula in comparison to other countries. India's Prime Minister announced that the India government helped avoid a world humanitarian crisis due to their lockdown measures. As the active virus rate continued to drop in India, the nearly year-long lockdown enforcements were lifted. The people living in India celebrated as they tried to get back to some type of normality. Meanwhile, the India government began focusing on vaccinations. The largest vaccine distribution in the world was implemented among the India people. So after enforcing the most strict and longest COVID lockdown order in the world, and after implementing the most extensive vaccine distribution in the world, why is India now experiencing a more devastating, lethal, and widespread COVID outbreak than the first time around? Again, I predicted this would happen clear back in March of 2020. To be honest, it was just common sense. The India doctors are reporting today that COVID has mutated into at least 3 more deadly mutations, one even affecting children. As a result, 2,000 deaths are being reported in India every 24 hours. This is sure to rise. You see, it doesn't take a doctor's degree to understand what is happening. The cause of this massive lethal viral outbreak in India is directly due to the lockdown and self-isolation measures. A similar thing happened many years ago on the American continent. When the Europeans arrived on the North American continent carrying germs which thrived in dense, semi-urban populations, the indigenous people of the Americas were effectively doomed. They had never experienced smallpox, measles, or a flu before, and the virus tore through the continent, killing an estimated of 90% of Native Americans. Why? Because the Native Americans were isolated on another continent, and their bodies had no chance to build an immunity towards the mutated European viruses. Due to exposure, the Europeans had become nearly immune to the viruses. This is why in March of 2020 I said, I wanted my family and I to get the virus now, before it mutates into something worse. The India government's strict lockdown measures caused the weaker COVID virus to pass over their country, not allowing most people in India to be exposed to it. As a result, their bodies have never built up an immunity to COVID, and now it has gone around the world and mutated into at least 3 new strains that are much more deadly. The people of India can thank their oppressive government for the sure and unnecessary deaths of thousands of people. People in other countries where lockdown measures were enforced by their governments can do the same. Now I will make another prediction. The mutated virus will go through the world again and again. This is natural, and there is little we can do to stop it. Vaccines will continue to be pushed as the solution, and government personnel will use the virus deaths to try and gain more power as they did the first time around. The people that do not comply, those that resist the government mandates, will be more happy, live more free, and will endure the virus much better than those who comply. The only question is, How much force and suffering will those in government oppress upon the people to get them to comply? Either way, freedom is the better way, and it always has been. Thank you.